A real story of character, respect, and what happens when you never know who's listening. Channel Black Women. Some people measure success by money. Others measure it by how they treat people when no one's watching. Hey there, family. Before we begin, I just want to say, I hope you and your loved ones are doing well, healthy, and holding on to what matters most. Now buckle up, because this story, it's going to make you think twice about the way we judge people and what real leadership looks like when the cameras are off. He walked in just before closing time. Not a customer, not a celebrity, just a man in jeans and a gray hoodie. His name, Marcus Dane, founder of Dane Velocity Motorcycles, a premium bike showroom that he'd built with his own hands and heart over the last decade. He wasn't there to check inventory. He wasn't there to talk profits. He came for one reason, to find out if his values still lived inside the walls of the place he'd built. The sun poured through the giant glass windows, casting soft golden streaks across chrome and leather. Bikes stood polished in perfect rows, each one a symbol of craftsmanship and precision. But today, what Marcus noticed wasn't the machines. It was the tone, the voices, the laughter. From the front desk, two employees, Troy and Jalen, were laughing louder than the showroom had room for. And it wasn't the kind of laughter that builds bridges. It was the kind that burns them. Marcus paused near the back wall, quietly standing beside a custom model he had personally helped design. He said nothing, but he heard everything. "Did you see that old guy who just left?" Troy snorted, arms crossed like he owned the place. Man looked like he didn't even know how to sit on the thing. Bet he came in trying to relive his glory days. Jalen chuckled weakly, clearly unsure. Maybe he just wanted a photo or something for Facebook. "Ha, Grandpa on wheels," Troy laughed, slapping the counter. Probably never ridden anything faster than a lawnmower. Bet he got lost trying to find the farmer's market. Marcus's jaw tightened, not visibly, but inside a storm. He had always built his company on respect for the product, for the customer, for each other. And here in plain sight were two employees mocking someone who might have walked in with a dream. He stayed quiet, because this wasn't just observation, this was revelation. Then the showroom door chimed again. In stepped a man, mid-50s, wearing worn jeans and a soft flannel. Not flashy, not rich, but he walked with a kind of quiet reverence. The way someone walks when something they love is standing right in front of them. He moved to the back corner where the vintage bikes were displayed, and there, in front of an old CB750, he whispered, This looks just like the one I had when I was 22. He didn't touch it. He didn't ask for a photo. He just stood there, smiling softly, remembering. But at the front desk, the mockery resumed. "Here we go again," Troy muttered. "This one's probably got a scrapbook full of bike memories and no cash to back it up." Jalen didn't laugh this time. He looked nervous, unsettled. His fingers tapped the counter, like his conscience was trying to speak through his hands. Marcus saw it. He saw everything. And this time, he started walking, slow, calm, like a wave heading to shore. He approached the man, smiled gently, and said, "That's a beautiful memory. The road, it doesn't leave you, does it?" The man turned, slightly surprised, but his face lit up. "Number, no, it doesn't. I bought one just like this after working 3 jobs. Rode it every weekend, still dream about it." Troy, overhearing, rolled his eyes. "Here we go, story time." "What is this?" he muttered under his breath. "Bike therapy hour?" Marcus turned slowly, not to confront, to correct. His eyes calm, but unforgiving. He looked at Troy, then at Jalen, and said, Maybe for some people it's not about horsepower. Maybe it's about remembering who they were when they were free. Troy blinked, confused. Wait, who are you again? Marcus's voice didn't rise. It didn't have to. He just stepped forward and said, I'm Marcus Dane, and I built this place. And just like that, the temperature dropped. Troy's face lost all its smugness. Jalen looked like the floor might open under his feet. The showroom was dead quiet, and Marcus didn't yell, didn't lecture. He just said, respect isn't something you give when it's convenient. It's who you are, especially when you think no one's watching. And with that, he turned back to the man beside the bike. Would you like a test ride? The man's face lit up. I'd love that. A confrontation without shouting, a lesson that didn't need punishment to hit home. Channel black women. The man, Mr. Whitaker, climbed onto the vintage bike like it was an old friend. His hands trembled slightly as they gripped the handlebars. But the smile on his face, that was pure peace. As Marcus guided him through the test ride protocol, Troy and Jalen watched from the front desk, silent now, still as statues. Troy crossed his arms, trying to reclaim his confidence. Okay, so we just let anyone ride now? He muttered, trying to sound sarcastic, but his voice betrayed a flicker of fear. Jalen didn't answer. His fingers were clenched white on the counter. Marcus returned after a few minutes, his steps unhurried, his face unreadable. But something in the room had shifted. He walked right past the desk at first, as if he hadn't heard Troy's comment at all. Then, with quiet precision, he stopped, turned, looked them both in the eye, and asked, Do you think mocking someone makes you more capable? The question hung in the air, heavy, surgical. Troy blinked. I mean, it was just a joke, he said, forcing a weak laugh. Didn't mean anything by it. Marcus nodded once, slowly. Then he said, See, that's the thing about disrespect. It rarely means anything to the person saying it, but it means everything to the person it's said about. Troy shrugged. Look, I just don't think every customer needs a therapy session. We're here to sell bikes, not hold hands. There it was again, the ego, the ignorance. But Marcus didn't flinch. His voice dropped into something quieter, deeper, sharper. And you think selling bikes is just about engines and specs? You think people come in here because of horsepower? He leaned in, elbows resting gently on the glass counter. They come in here because they want to feel something again. They come to remember who they used to be, or who they could be if someone just listened. The silence was absolute now. Jalen looked like he wanted to say something. His throat worked, his jaw tensed, but nothing came. Not yet. Troy, however, stood his ground. Okay, so what? We supposed to baby everyone? Let them cry on our shoulders and call it customer service? Marcus finally let a touch of steel slip into his voice. You don't need to baby anyone, but you will respect them. He stood straight now, calm, still, but the room felt like it was pulsing with electricity. Because if you can't show respect in here, you don't belong in here. That was it. He didn't yell, didn't threaten, just truth. Cold, clean, unapologetic, and it cut deeper than any raised voice ever could. Jalen shifted beside Troy, finally speaking. His voice was low, honest. I didn't feel good about it. Troy turned to him, surprised. Jalen's eyes didn't leave Marcus. I should have said something, I didn't. That's on me, I'm sorry. There was no script in his tone, no performance, just a young man realizing he'd gone along with something he didn't believe in and choosing to own it. Marcus looked at him for a long moment, then he nodded. It's not about being perfect. It's about choosing better the next time. Troy swallowed hard. His voice, when it came again, was flat. So what, we're fired now? Marcus smiled faintly, but there was no amusement in it. You're not fired, but you're on notice. This place isn't just about machines. It's about memory, about soul. If you can't carry that, this isn't the place for you." Behind them, the showroom door opened again. Mr. Whitaker returned, his face bright, eyes damp with gratitude. "It's been decades," he said to Marcus, shaking his hand warmly. "But for a moment out there, I felt 22 again." Marcus smiled and nodded toward Troy and Jalen. "These gentlemen can take it from here. They'll walk you through everything, with respect." Mr. Whitaker turned to them, and you could see the shift, in Troy's eyes especially. The shame, but also maybe a start, a chance, a second chance, a new customer, and the moment they had to decide what kind of men they were becoming. Channel, Black women. A few days had passed. The echo of that confrontation hadn't faded. It lingered, not just in the silence between conversations, but in how Troy and Jalen moved. Less arrogant, more careful, not out of fear, but because something had cracked open inside them, and now they had to decide who they'd be next. That afternoon, the showroom was unusually quiet. The hum of fluorescent lights, the soft creak of a stool. Jalen stood behind the counter, flipping through a parts catalog. Troy sat nearby, silent, staring out the window. Then, the door chimed. In walked a young man, early 20s, hood up, shoes scuffed. He looked like someone trying not to be seen. His eyes darted across the room, overwhelmed. He didn't speak, just slowly wandered toward a matte black cruiser in the far corner. Troy watched him, uncertain. "You think he's here to actually buy?" he muttered under his breath. Jalen didn't look up from the counter. He just said, "Does it matter?" That stopped Troy cold. He blinked, looked again at the young man. This wasn't Mr. Whitaker. No nostalgia, no warmth. Just a kid who looked like he was carrying a whole lot more than a backpack. Troy stood, approached carefully, not with swagger this time, but with intention. "Hey, man," he said, voice calm. "First time in a showroom like this?" The young man nodded slowly, didn't make eye contact. "Yeah, I've always wanted to ride. I don't know much. Never had anyone to show me." Jalen joined them, wiping his hands on a rag. "That's okay," he said, his tone lighter than usual. "You don't need to know everything. We'll walk you through it." They spent the next 30 minutes walking him through specs, frame types, posture, safety tips. No sales pitch, no pressure, just presence. He finally cracked a smile when Troy showed him how to sit properly on the cruiser. "I thought I'd look stupid," the kid said, laughing nervously, "like I don't belong here." Troy shook his head. "You belong if you're here. Everyone starts somewhere. I did too." Jalen nodded in agreement. We all did. By the end of the visit, the young man had filled out an application for a starter loan. Didn't buy that day, didn't have to, because what he took home was dignity. As he left, Troy returned to the counter. His voice was quieter than usual. "You think Marcus saw that?" Jalen didn't answer right away, then said, "Doesn't matter if he saw it. We did it." Upstairs, in the shadows of the office window, Marcus had been watching the entire time. His arms were crossed, his expression unreadable, but in his chest, something unclenched. It wasn't about perfection. It never was. It was about choosing to grow, to get it wrong and then get it right. And downstairs, for the first time in a long time, Troy and Jalen felt proud, not of what they sold, but of who they showed up as. No speeches, no punishments, just one quiet message that changed everything. Channel Black women. A week had passed. The rhythm of the showroom had settled again, but something in the air had changed, not in the bikes, not in the music, in the way Troy and Jalen spoke, walked, looked customers in the eye. There was no more sarcasm, no more side eyes, just service, honest, patient, human. That afternoon, the door chimed once again, but this time it wasn't a customer. It was Marcus, not dressed as the boss, no blazer, no clipboard, just jeans, a plain black tee, and a presence. He didn't say much, didn't gather them for a team talk. He just walked behind the counter, set something down, and turned to go. Jalen blinked. "Heading out, Mr. Dane?" Marcus paused in the doorway, his hand on the glass. He turned slightly, just enough for them to hear. "Keep up the good work." Then he left. No lecture, no reminder of what had happened, no checklists, just trust. The door clicked shut behind him. The showroom fell still. Troy stepped over to the counter, where Marcus had left something behind. A small piece of notepaper, folded once. On it, in bold handwriting, were just a few simple lines. "Respect isn't something you show when it's easy. It's a decision you make, every day in every moment. Because it defines not just who you are, but who you'll become." Troy read it once, then again, and this time he didn't laugh. He folded the note carefully, not crumpled, not tossed, placed it in his wallet. And in that moment, he got it. Respect wasn't a rule. It wasn't a line in the employee manual. It was a legacy. And that legacy started not with Keanu Reeves, not even with Marcus Dane, but with every small choice made when no one's watching. Who was right? Who was wrong? Troy was wrong. His sarcasm wasn't just unkind, it threatened the soul of the place. But he listened, and he changed. Jalen was silent, and that silence made him complicit. But he had the courage to step forward and own his part. Marcus, he didn't lead with fear. He led with presence, patience, and a truth so sharp it didn't need to be loud to cut deep. Why did they act the way they did? Troy didn't understand that motorcycles were never about machines. They were about people, about freedom, memory, pain, hope. And when he saw that for the first time, he changed. Because men change when they're seen and when they're taught, not punished. Real leadership doesn't always speak. Sometimes it watches, sometimes it waits. But when the moment is right, it tells the truth with such grace that people don't just hear it, they feel it, and they carry it with them. If this story moved you, if it made you reflect on how we treat strangers or what kind of legacy we're really leaving behind, hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs a reminder that respect is power. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Black Women, where real stories like this come to life. Stories about honor, heart, and the hidden lessons all around us. Because around here, we believe that who you are when no one's watching is exactly who you are.